Right then, sir. Everybody finds this one quite a tricky one. We're just going to skim down here. It's a whacking 4 marks, so I've got to be a lot of working out to get me there. So what am I doing?
Okay, right. The important thing is obviously always read the question, okay? So it might be of use for you to go through and just highlight some key information. So the table gives some information about the weights in kilograms of 50 suitcases, okay, at an airport check-in desk. You've got your table there. Work out an estimate for the mean weight. So one of the key words there is estimate. And if you notice, we've got all this space here. We've got all this space, and we're actually going to use that, because what we're going to do is we're going to extend this table by another 2 columns.
There are times they give you the 2 columns, but mostly they don't. Mostly they leave them for you to try and figure that out yourself.
Okay. And the key is that it's grouped data. Okay, so we need to take an estimate, and that's why it's an estimate of the mean. So we're going to take the midpoint of each category. So I'm just going to do that as a heading there, midpoint. Okay. So I'm just going to work out the midpoints first. So the midpoint of 0 and 10, it's if you like, it's an average of the 2 things. So if we take the 2 limits, it's 0 and 10. So 0 add 10 is 10, half it, the midpoint is 5. On this one, add them together, 10 add 15 is 25, half it, the midpoint is 12.5.
Would this be a calculator question, sir?
I would presume so, yes,
yeah,
definitely.
I think you're right.
Next of all, we've got 15 add 20, which is 35. Half that would be...
I'm just going to check you, sir. 15 add 20,
and then half
divide
it.
by 2. Noticing that we did the divide by 2 afterwards so that we get the big maths right.
So 7.5. And then finally, 20 add 35. Just type that in. Half that is 27.5. Okay. So we've got our midpoint column now completed, but you'll notice I drew an extra column. Okay. And what we need to do now is we're going to do the frequency times the midpoint. So I'm just going to write F times N here in shorthand. So it's frequency times midpoint. It might even be that you want to, just as a reminder for yourself, is just write the times signs here like that. So I'm going to do 16 times 5 first, which gives me 80. Then 18 times 12.5, which gives me 225. Then 10 times 17.5. You remember what happens with the decimal point. If you times by 10, it moves to the right, which is 175. And then finally, 6 times 27.5, which is 165. Okay? Up to this point, I would say that you've earned yourself 2 marks out of the 4. Okay?
So that would be 1 for this column and 1 for this column.
And remember, when you're working out the mean, if you were doing the normal mean, you'd add up all the numbers and divide by how many's there. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to work out the total of this column. Okay? But we also need the total of this column. We don't actually have to do any calculations for this, because remember what I highlighted in the question. There's 50 suitcases altogether. So the total frequency is 50, and as Mrs. Thorne's just shown on the calculator, that is verified. So we just need to add these up together now. So 80, add 225, add 175 plus 165, which gives me 645. So that's, I would say there you've got your 3rd mark.
Yeah.
And to finish off, to get the final mark, we're just going to do 645 divided by 50. Which gives me an answer of 12.9. So an estimate for the mean weight of those 50 suitcases is 12.9 kilograms.
Do you know a really common mistake, sir? I'm just going to highlight this for you now. I'm just grabbing a different pen. Is most people get this bit right and they get these 2 marks right, but a lot of people do 645 divided by 4 because of this 1, 2, 3, 4 categories. Be really careful to work out that total frequency, because that is completely wrong. Okay.